The JBL Quantum 910 Wireless is an all-in-one headset which works across a variety of different platforms. Now in this video, which has been kindly sponsored by the manufacturer, I'll be covering everything you need to know about it and also giving you the all-important recording quality tests. Now the headset itself can be found for £200 in the UK and $230 in the US. So to kick off this video, I would like to quickly touch upon what you've got in the box. It goes without saying that you have got the headset itself, but you also have got a windshield foam for the microphone. Then you've also got another calibration microphone. This is very handy if you do want to enable spatial audio, and I'll be touching upon that very shortly. Then you have got a USB charging cable, where on one end you've got a Type-C port, which connects up to the headset, and a Type-A port on the other, which can be handy if you're plugging it into a games console, a PC, or a wall adapter. Then you have got a 3.5mm audio cable, handy for certain console gamers, and then you've also got a USB wireless dongle, which is terminated via Type-C port, and therefore JBL have thought it's great to include a Type-C to Type-A converter. Handy, for example, if you've got a more legacy device running a Type-A port. And finally, you have got a soft carrying pouch, which can be handy to protect the headphones, specifically if you're going to be traveling. So moving swiftly on, we get onto connectivity, and here you've got a plethora of options. First off, via the 2.4 GHz wireless dongle, which comes included, you can connect it up to a PC, a Mac, a laptop, a PlayStation, and yes, that also includes a PS5 and a Nintendo Switch, all of which are certainly appreciated. And of course, depending on how new your device is, that can be via a Type-C port or via the included adapter, and therefore via a Type-A port. Now, aside from its 2.4 GHz network, you have also got the ability to connect over Bluetooth, and here the SBC and AC codecs are supported only. Now, you will be pleased to know that you have also got the ability to have a dual wireless connection, and that means you can simultaneously use two sources, therefore connecting up to the dongle, for example to your computer, whilst also connected over Bluetooth to your smartphone, allowing you to interchange between the two and giving you plenty of different options. On that note, you do also have the ability to plug it in via the auxiliary 3.5mm cable, and here this means it's supported on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, mobile, Mac, and of course a computer, therefore giving you plenty of versatility no matter what platform you're using. Now of course it's very much dependent as to which platform you have, but if you want to get the most out of the headset, you want to be using the wireless 2.4 GHz low latency dongle. Now this actually perfectly brings me on to sound quality, and here you've got 50mm dynamic drivers with high-res certified JBL Quantum sound signature, allowing you to hear the tiniest footsteps to the loudest explosions. And given the larger driver size, it means it'll be great for positional cues, which is very useful when you're playing competitive games. Now on that note, the JBL audiologists have specifically designed the sound curve to be perfectly tuned for gaming. And indeed in this respect, you have got a frequency response of 20Hz up to 20 kHz when used actively, or 20Hz up to 40 kHz when used passively. Now while that's all very impressive, the Quantum 910 Wireless isn't just a stereo headset, but rather also has spatial audio technology thanks to the use of JBL Quantum Sphere 360, which is solely available over PC while using the wireless dongle. This effectively gives you professional level 3D audio positioning thanks to the integrated head tracking sensor and also the calibration microphone. Now indeed, JBL's technology is quite unique and is literally a head-turning experience. Of course, if you do not want the head tracking function, you can disable it, while still benefiting from the Quantum Sphere 360 technology, but if you do not want to use this either, you can still opt for spatial audio via DTS Headphone X version 2. Now it is worth re-highlighting that if you do want to benefit from the custom calibrated JBL Quantum Sphere 360 technology, you'll have to be connected over to a PC using the wireless dongle. If however you have a PS4, a PS5, a Nintendo Switch or a Mac, you will still be able to benefit to using the JBL Quantum Spatial 360 technology, and of course this is using the wireless dongle. If you have an Xbox or a mobile, these features will unfortunately not be available to you. Now, no matter which platform you're on, you'll be pleased to know that the JBL Quantum 910 wireless features active noise cancellation, ANC for short, and when combined with the excellent passive noise isolation that one attains, it will allow you to eliminate any sort of unwanted sounds around you so that you can stay fully engaged in your missions without any sort of distractions.
So all that's out of the way, what about when it comes to the all-important recording quality? Well, everything you can hear right now is coming directly from the unidirectional microphone positioned on the JBL Quantum 910 wireless. Now here you have got a frequency response of 100 Hz up to 8 kHz, at least according to the manufacturer. You have also got a flip to mute function, which I'm going to... I was continuing to speak right there while I muted myself, just to demonstrate that the fact that when you do mute yourself, or indeed unmute yourself, there is no sort of popping or sort of static sound, which can be present on some rival alternatives. So it's great to see that JBL have actually optimized that. Now, it's also fantastic that the unidirectional microphone doesn't actually pick up a lot of environmental sounds. Right now, I'm going to be playing back a track. It's from Priya J, titled Like Me, and it's coming from my bookshelf speakers. And yet, you'll probably not actually be able to hear her vocals. And yes, I do promise you that there is some music coming across over here, including if I go quiet. So yes, just to prove that there is some music that is playing there, but it's very inaudible, specifically if you're at a regulator distance. Now, the reason I'm giving you this test is also to give you an indication of how the microphone would pick up external sounds. So, for example, if you've got a busy sort of household, for example, with kids or housemates, or indeed, let's say, noisy neighbors, the microphone does try and hone into your voice. Now, I would also like to demonstrate how it would perform when it comes to typing. So here I've got a Cherry MX Brown keyboard. So of course, if you've got a slightly different keyboard, it might be different. Or of course, the keycaps will be of importance in this respect. But typing some absolute gibberish, I just want to demonstrate as to how the microphone picks up keystrokes, including when I go quiet. So there we go. Hopefully this little controlled test and demo gives you an indication as to how the microphone performs on the JBL Quantum 910 wireless, and I'd be intrigued to know what you make of the microphone down in the comment section below. So moving on, we get on to the software, which is called the JBL Quantum Engine, and it's extremely comprehensive. First off, at the top left-hand side, you can see the Windows volume, not to be confused with the headset volume, which is independent of that. And you can see here when I'm adjusting it on the fly, it does show it equally the microphone. As for the battery indicator, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then as for the game and chat, you can see here if I'm adjusting it on the headset, it's picking up directly on the software, which is great in order for you to understand how it's actually operating. Then you've got the spatial sound, so you can toggle it quickly on and off via here, and we'll touch upon it further down over here as well. Then you've also got the head tracker function. You have got the ability to recenter it if for some reason you've got it at an odd angle, and yes, you'll be able to see over here that the headset is actually picking up my head very accurately, and therefore gives you a little indicator as to how it looks like. Very cool inclusion and something that you might want to use in your games. Now, if we were to disable them just for the time being, because we're going to be touching upon spatial sound very shortly, I would like to talk about the equalizer. Now, this is all very subjective, but the default EQ will be flat, and therefore it will look, of course, very flat. But then you can adjust it, be it from the preset EQs or, for example, creating your own. And in this respect, you have got 12 decibels of addition or indeed subtraction that you can do. And in this respect, I've added 3 notches to 31 Hertz, 2 notches to 62 Hz, taken 1 off 500 Hz, added 2 to 8 kHz, and 6 to 16 kHz. This is, again, very subjective, so make sure you play around with it if you get the headset, so that you can, of course, customize it to your heart's content. Now, as for the lighting, you have also got a vast degree of customization, be it from the preset ones that you can go for, or by going by the advanced modes, and then adjusting, for example, the tempo, the amount of seconds, for example, between every single interval. You can customize this. So, for example, if I add over here, I can change the color as it goes from, let's say, 6 seconds, and then upwards from 6 to 10 seconds, I can have a different color. Very, very cool to say the least. And of course, if you don't want that, if you right click, it will switch it on all to a singular color. Now, of course, how do you edit the color? Well, there's a little button over here, and you've got the full RGB spectrum. You can switch it between breathing, solid, wave, and glitch, and it even gives you an indicator as to what you're adjusting. So, for example, here we're looking at the logo. If, however, I would go over to the ring, you can see here it's showing that the ring is going to be adjusted. And of course here the same goes with the notch. You can see that the notch is being adjusted. So it's great to see the visual indication and the vast degree of customization that you have in terms of the RGB lights, and you can even synchronize them as well if you so wish. Or of course, if you simply just want to extend battery life, you might want to disable lighting altogether. Now moving on to spatial sound, so right now we're on to a stereo mode. If, however, you want a spatial sound to be enabled, you might want to go on DTS, or better still, go on the JBL Quantum Sphere 360. Now this really takes it one step further, and in this respect gives you even further customization. Now you can actually look at the channel ID, in other words, going through the singular channels and having a little bit of a demo of that, which can be quite handy. And if you were to click on channel setup, it will automatically open up a YouTube video, which shows you how you should properly set up any sort of spatial sound, specifically the JBL Quantum Sphere 360. So for me to demonstrate it, right here, we're going to go onto the window settings. I'm going to make sure we're looking at the speakers over here, not the headset earphone, and then right click on it and then go on to configure speakers. Once we're going on that, we're going to go on 7.1 surround, press next, and press next again, and finish. And yes, it is all that simple. Now you've got it configured in the best sort of degree, and you're going to get the most out of the spatial sound capabilities of this headset. Of course, if you do not want that, then you'll just want to do the reverse on window settings, and of course, therefore, disable spatial sound. Just bearing in mind that the head tracker function is only enabled once you do enable the JBL Quantum Sphere 360. As you can see, it's not enabled over here on DTS, whereas over here, it suddenly becomes enabled, and then you have got the head tracker function. So just worth bearing that all in mind. Now, moving past that, we do get onto the microphone. As you can see, with the microphone gain being picked up, you've got the ability to adjust the microphone volume, and better still, even enable a side tone. So for example, if you want to hear yourself while you're talking, you can do this, and therefore it gives you an ability to potentially stay a little bit more quiet, specifically, for example, if you've got any sort of ANC enabled. And yes, the headset does actually have ANC, and you can see it over here on this little toggle. If I were to press it, it would disable ANC. If I were to press it, it would enable ANC. And if I were to press the TT button, that is the talk through button, and it's somewhat similar to what you'd experience on the side tone, except here I can hear all my surroundings as well, as if the headset wasn't on my ears. So just giving you a better sort of awareness of your surroundings. Now, past that, we have also got the system software, where you can make sure that it's all up to date, or indeed if you want to restore the factory settings, be it of the headset itself or indeed the app. You've also got a standby timeout, which you can enable or disable if you so wish. Finally, you've got a little help section, which is very handy, giving you a little bit of an FAQ about all the different settings that you might want to tinker around with.
So moving past the comprehensive software, I would like to talk about its design. And here it's available in an all black finish, although it has got a see-through headband, which certainly does stand out in comparison to the rest of the crowd. Of course, you have got those fancy RGB lights should you want to have them enabled, but of course, if it's not up your street, you can have them fully turned off. Now, furthermore, in terms of the overall comfort of them, you have got a padded headband at the top, and the headband itself is fully adjustable and pretty stretchy, and then you've also got a premium leather-wrapped memory foam material for the ear cushions. Therefore meaning the headset that weighs in at 420 gram shouldn't pose any sort of problems, be it for those elongated gaming sessions, or of course if you wear glasses. Now on that note, it brings me on to battery life, and here the headset has got a built-in 1300 mAh battery, and here it will take 3.5 hours to charge from empty to full. But you will be pleased to know that you can use the headset whilst charging, which isn't always the case with some of its competitors. Now in terms of the overall playback time, it's rated at 39 hours while using the wireless dongle, or up to 45 hours while using Bluetooth. Note this is quoted from the manufacturer with ANC and the RGB lighting disabled. Now with all that in mind, it does actually perfectly bring me on to interacting with the headset. And here on the left hand side, starting from the top to the bottom, you've actually got an ANC button. And this, when enabled, has a small little white LED. Here you can also hold it down for 2 seconds to enable the talk through functionality, which can be quite handy. Now then, you have also got the game audio chat balance dial and also the volume control, which as a reminder is independently adjusted aside from what you have on Windows. Then you've also got a dedicated microphone mute or unmute button. Now this is actually separate from the flip to mute functionality. So it's worth pointing out over here that if you are flipped up, then you won't be able to unmute yourself. If, however, you're flipped down, then you'll be able to initiate the button and therefore mute or indeed unmute yourself. Now this button also has got the ability of being held down for 5 seconds and therefore will fully disable the RGB lights. Again, quite handy if you do not have access to the software. Now further down on the left hand cup you have also got a small little LED which does indicate when you are charging the headset and therefore in red. Then you've also got a 3.5mm auxiliary jack to connect up over to certain other devices, and then you've got a USB Type-C port which is used for charging only or if you're doing a firmware update. Now shifting our attention to the right cup, you have got a small little LED which is white when connected over to the wireless dongle or blue when it's connected over Bluetooth. You then also have a little switch which allows you to switch on or off the headset, and if you were to hold it down for 2 seconds it will also initiate Bluetooth pairing mode, although this will only have to be done once, of course presuming if you're pairing up to a singular device. Then further down you've also got a dedicated button which allows you to toggle and cycle through the spatial sound. In other words, you can have it off, in other words the default mode, spatial sound, or spatial sound with head tracking. You then also have the ability to hold it down for 2 seconds, which allows you to recenter it for the head tracking capabilities. So there we have it. Hopefully you've enjoyed my detailed overview of the JBL Quantum 910 wireless. I'll be curious to know what you make of the headset down in the comments section below. Now of course if you've liked this detailed overview, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Totally Dubbed and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.